The age of AI PCs is upon us, and that can mean big business for solution providers. I'm Wade Millward, Senior Associate Editor at CRN, and today I'm talking to two solution providers, CEOs, about the opportunities ahead with AI-enabling devices already on the market, from the likes of Microsoft, Lenovo, HP, and more. With me today are Don Sizer, CEO of Third Element Consulting, and Wayne Roye, CEO of Troinet. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
I'll start with you, Don. To kind of level set here, tell me what's the current level of interest from your customers around AI and AI devices?
There's both a lot of interest and fear, and I think it's good to have both. So the most interest that we've had is revolving right around Copilot and how to enable it appropriately inside of somebody's tenant. So we've had a lot of conversations around that, what it's going to take to be secure before we actually enable it. So we have a couple of clients that are on that journey right now, and I'm excited for what's going on, but also really glad to see that they're approaching it with some trepidation and appropriate levels of concern.
And Wayne, how about your customers?
I like to agree with Don. I know you mentioned AI as well as AI PCs. The biggest drive right now is in AI itself. AI is easily implemented and people are very excited about it, but trepidation, I agree with you completely, because the fear is, how is AI going to look at my stuff? So a lot of the big things out there is data governance, which we're a big fan. We're one of the first people to talk data governance. Everybody talks security. Data governance actually dictates what security is supposed to look like. So data governance is, hey, AI, can it see my stuff? And what people are mixing together is security, where it comes like folder permissions and access. And data governance is, what piece of information can AI possibly touch and see that I may not be aware of? You know, that's the big draw. Now with AI and PCs, that's a whole different animal. And that you're going to see a big push in industries that's very data intensive and privacy concerned, because the AI PCs allow you now to use that in-house. So you're siloing the information. So you're going to see a lot of that stuff, and we're going to touch base into it, of more people like research and development, pharma, healthcare, startups, especially AI startups. It's going to be big on the AI PC side compared to the AI in the cloud.
I'll stick with you, Wayne. Tell me, as AI PCs and AI devices, as they start to go mainstream, how are you going to talk with customers about when the time is right to actually invest in this hardware?
Well, I think the market's going to drive it, because when you deal with AI PCs, one of the biggest fears is security. Having an AI PC now silos that data, so you have it internally. But also the big draw, I think, is going to be sees a lot of companies want to actually create their own large language models. They want to do their own training. Having the PC and the power, NVIDIA is big now with some of the graphic cards that are coming out, and some of the hardware you see going out is going to allow people to build their own AI for themselves. And that's where you're going to see the drive for AI PCs. I feel it's not going to be more of the commonplace for the day-to-day person, but those people that's really in finance. I got a lot of data. I need to make sure it's secure. I don't feel comfortable putting it up in the cloud, but I want to create that in-house and be able to quickly build my own models and be able to get my own data in the way that I want. That's where you're going to see that push in AI PCs.
Excellent. And Don, going to you, how is the customer conversation around AI PCs going to unfold? Is it going to be much different from the current conversation around the application layer?
Not a lot. I think what Wayne touched on, and I think this is really, truly important. We've had a lot of people say, how do I build my own large language model? How do I build this in-house, right? And I think that's the caveat to all of this, because today we have to tell them, well, the data processing is way too large. There's no way to do it. You're going to need a data center, blah, 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 blah. And that's not going to be true going forward. So I think that conversation is going to be very different. And one of the other things that Wayne said is, yeah, there's going to be very specific industries, whether it's pharma, whether it's finance, those types of people, or even anybody that's really looking at Power BI, Dynamics, hyper automation, things along those pieces. they're really going to benefit from this.
And tell me, Don, how big of a factor will FOMO be in terms of customers wanting to adopt? Although I think we're talking about, like, we have to balance customer excitement with security and being, I'm not sure what you call it, good cop, bad cop, right? Whatever your analogy is, but yeah, tell me about that side of it, Don.
The weird thing about technology, right? We've all kind of either adopted it, grown up with it, whatever that situation is. And I think we've gamified it more than what we should have and didn't grow up with the security side of it, right? We didn't think about that. So now we're adding it in after the fact. So it's harder to deal with that piece, I think, for a lot of folks. So I think there's going to be plenty of FOMO. I think there's going to be plenty of the good cop, bad cop factor, or you're taking my AI, right? Because like, and that's not what we want to do by any stretch of the imagination. We want to make sure that we get the right tools in front of the right people at the time that they need to use them, right? Because like you need a tool for something. I don't want to give you a wrench when you really need a hammer.
And now Wayne, FOMO, and Don's excellent Law and Order impression there. That good cop, bad cop situation, what are you thinking about there?
I think AI is a great catalyst for enabling proper work procedures, because if you come in and talk security, there's a fear factor, but you're talking AI, it's an operational thing. Hey, I need to improve something. I need to create content. My salespeople can enable quicker. My market people can enable quicker. And people that's doing analytics can actually get data quicker. So now it's a value in a thing where I'm going, I see the value of it compared to seeing a security play, do these things because you have to. Now, more companies actually will listen to our conversation around, and I always say data governance, I don't say security, data governance, because, hey, you want AI? But remember that employee document you wrote 10 years ago that you forgot that you had in the folder, AI can see it? Hey, how about I make sure your IP is protected, I make sure the data is protected, because now you want to function properly in your business. I love AI and the fact that people are embracing it, but it's going to allow proper work practices. That's a better way of putting it. It's an enabler for better stewardship of data within an organization compared to a have to knee-jerk and a thinking security is about a bunch of routers and switches where it's really about data.
Yeah, that's well said. And Wayne, sticking with you, you're both CEOs, solution providers, and we all know that the channel is going to be such an important part of standing up AI and making it actually work and making sure customers are satisfied. Wayne, is there any kind of message you have to the hardware vendors out there? Anything that you think you need to see as far as AI devices coming to market? Anything you think customers will especially be asking about as this stuff starts to go mainstream? Anything we need to see before it can go mainstream?
Well, security is always something. How do you manage that data flow? Hey, AI PCs, how is that? It's supposed to insulate, but what are the protocols against the device? I have a physical device and that now gets stolen. How do I deal with that? Because now you're doing all of your analytics. You're dependent on that piece of hardware. And a lot of the hardware now is becoming mobile. I can walk into a building, grab a laptop, because a laptop has as much power as a server that's in a rack. People are doing it on those devices. The theft of those things are easier because I can easily pick it up and walk away with it. So the manufacturers are going to have to find ways to secure it from the BIOS level all the way up. And they're doing it. And the biggest demand is going to be power, which that in itself, I personally feel is coming into itself. Processing, storage, memory, all those things, video cards. I mean, gaming, AI is going to be big in gaming. It's going to be phenomenal in gaming. The power to be able to do things, it's going to be a necessity. We're human beings. The more you give us, the more we want. So if you build it, we're going to use it. So it's going to be about power. It's really going to be about power.
Yeah, that's well said. And Don, as we start to see the first wave of these devices, they'll obviously be iterated on. What are you hoping that device makers keep in mind? What's important for these things in terms of your job, in terms of customer satisfaction and adoption?
I mean, I'd like to see something on the impact of power, right? We're not huge on sustainability here in the United States, and I'd like to see a little more of that. So if we're going to use more power, can we figure out a way to use AI to offset it in some manner, shape, or form, right? We have the technology, let's figure this out, right? Let's use the AI to figure out how to make our power consumption a little bit less. So I think that's one way. One of the other ways that I would like to see is like, just because you can build AI into absolutely everything doesn't mean that you need to, right? So let's have some devices that still don't have it in. That would be fantastic, because we're going to have people that don't necessarily need it. They really just need a dumb device. There's plenty of people out there saying, if I just had a flip phone, because all I need to do is make telephone calls, right? There's still going to be people that are on that. I just need a PC to do a specific thing, and it doesn't need to be AI powered. But to Wayne's point, how do we turn it off? What's the appropriate way to get it turned off or deactivate it quickly if something goes sideways?
That's going to do it for this program today. Thank you both so much for joining me. Thank you for watching CRN TV. Make sure you're subscribed to our CRN YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out our AI in Action newsroom yet, please do so. We just updated it to include topic-specific hubs around AI PC. So head over there, head over to crn.com for more IT channel news. Don, Wayne, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having us.